So the $4 million studio, how much did you put down? You bought it.
Man, it's been a while. I can't remember. Probably 10%, 20%. I can't. It's been
So
forever.
you put down 400 to 800,000.
Something like that.
Okay, and then you had a $20K a month mortgage on top of that.
Which, with all the costs of owning a building, ends up being significantly more. There's a lot of property taxes. There's all kinds of shit.
Right, because you're going to pay. Well, it's a business. I know on the residential side, it's like 1.1% in Calabasas. So if you have a $4 million house, you'll pay like $44,000 a year just in property taxes. Business might be a little different though.
Yeah.
Is it more?
I don't actually know. I'm not like super in the weeds with my own business. Probably should be more so, but
It's at least that.
Yeah,
You're paying at least 40-something thousand a year just to have that unit.
insurance, repairs. There was that one point I walk into the main area of my space and I see like a bubble emerging in the ground. Like the ground is sort of like concave, like it's coming out of the ground like a volcano almost. And I call somebody in to take a look at it. It turns out that back in the day, some chemicals were buried in the backyard or under the ground.
Wow.
And one of these barrels exploded and there was a lot of pressure coming up through the ground. They have to, completely tear out the whole floor, take care of the stuff that's in there, and then they fixed it all up. But it's like, you get a random bill for $10,000 because you own this space, and you start really thinking like, God damn, renting would be nice. Like, this is what I saw Tony Yayo calling you an idiot for supporting renting. But, I own my house. I've owned a couple other houses over the years, but at this point in my life, I really feel ready to just be a renter when it comes to the space that I create content out of. That sounds great at this point.
Yeah, no, there's actually a new video, like my new interview with Tony Yayo, where I actually respond with facts.
Right.
And I break down how, for a multi-million-dollar house, like he was saying how $15,000 was crazy, but I show him with a $3 million house, you'll actually spend more than $15,000 every month. Way more.
Right.
And after 10 years, you'll have nothing to show for it because you're just paying interest to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So
I think a lot of people have that idea in their head from their childhood. Like, I remember my dad telling me that basically if you make it to my age, if you make it to your 40s and you're still renting, you're a loser. And if you buy a house, then you're building equity, and that's what a winner does. And as I get older and older, I'm like, this is bad advice. It's like, in certain market conditions, it's favorable to buy property, but there's a lot of good things that come out of renting a spot too. And anytime I see something happen to one of my friends who rents their house and it just is immediately dealt with by the landlord, I'm like, okay, don't take this for granted. Like, this is a nice situation to be in.
Well, yeah, I mean, you and I are in almost the same situation because I have a studio in New York that I pay around $20,000 a month for, right? And I'm locked in, I think, for another 2.5 years or something like that. Wow. It was like a 7-year lease at the start of the pandemic. Now, at the time, I had employees that were all in the studio, which is why I signed the lease, re-signed the lease, that is. But then you start to realize during the pandemic that everyone works from home.
Right.
You actually don't need the space. But I know there's an end date when this lease is over. There's like a 6-month deposit that I'll get back. I tried to get out of it. It didn't work. I mean, not that I tried, but I talked to a lawyer seriously about it. They went through the whole lease and said, no. They're just going to sue you, and you're going to end up having to pay more anyway. So just pay for the rest. We're trying to sublease. It didn't work. But yeah, I mean, at least there's an end date, and I'm out. And at that point, I'll get a 6-month check back. So I'll get $120,000 back. No repairs am I ever responsible for. It's just done.
Right.
Whereas in your situation, are you trying to sell it right now?
We have it on the market. I'm not in the biggest hurry. If we got an offer tomorrow, I guess, we would just sell right now. But, that being said, if we have to sit on it for 6 months, 9 months, a year, it's like, it's not the end of the world, especially with us getting the Instagram back. But ultimately, it would make a lot of sense for us to get rid of it.
If someone gave you a $3 million offer for the unit right now, $3 million now.
I think that would be a small loss. Like, that would be a couple $100,000 less than what we spent on it. That being said, if I could just get away from it right now, maybe, because...
Well, you spent $4 million on it or less?
I think it was like 3.3 million.
3.3.
Like
oh, okay.
I titled the YouTube video of me touring at $5 million mansion, which I guess was, or a warehouse, which I guess was hyperbole. I don't even remember consciously exaggerating that, but yeah.
Okay, so you sell it at a $300,000 loss.
If that
Right
was the
now.
only offer that I had, and the other version of this was me waiting a year to see if maybe I could get a better offer, yeah, I guess that would be interesting. And I wouldn't consider that to be a huge loss because think about how much utility we've gotten out of
Yeah.
it over the course of the past 3 years. $300,000, $100,000 per year, eight grand per month. That's pretty good deal if I got to use that space
Yeah.
for the equivalent of $8,000 a month.
Yeah, and people like to say, well, when you responded to Tony Yayo and said how renting is actually cheaper than owning, you're not talking about the equity in the property. And I'm like, you don't know if you're going to have any equity when it's time for you to sell. Okay, if you spend all 30 years there, then yes, you'll probably have some equity. But if you're like most humans that might sell after 5 years or 8 years, you don't know where the market is. Like right now, selling at this very moment, people are looking for deals because of what's happening in the stock market.
Right.
People understand there's not as much cash out there. People are taking losses. It's a grim future. People are trying to get it. People like you are trying to get out and taking multi-$100,000 losses because they're choosing to sell right now. You're not guaranteed a profit in property every time like people like to think.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
for sure.
It's not. This is why a lot of times even spending $15,000, $20,000 a month makes more sense than actually buying a multi-million-dollar, retail or commercial or private property. So you're learning that. I've learned that in the past. It is what it is.
At one point, it rained really, really bad, and the drains were clogged outside my house. And so water got into my house and fucked up the wood flooring. And we ended up having to have our entire floor torn up in order to fix this water damage. If we didn't have insurance, it would have cost us something like $90,000. And, this is not something that we could have seen coming when we bought this house. And it's something that we wouldn't have had to pay for or deal with in any way if we had just rented a spot. Now, that being said, our mortgage for my house is something like $8,000 a month split between me and my wife. And, if we were to...
Wait. You and your wife split the mortgage?
Yeah, we bought it together.
But you guys, what, out of each of your personal accounts, you guys pay half?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Okay.
You thought I
That's
would just pay
interesting.
for it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Why would you?
I mean, that would be a very nice gift for me to have given to my wife to be like, hey, you're not going to be paying the mortgage. But, we chose to invest in it together. I guess we view it as an investment.
But you're married, so it kind of doesn't matter. It's joint property anyways, unless you have a prenup.
Right.
Even with a prenup, you bought it after the prenup, so the prenup wouldn't apply to it.
Exactly, yeah.
Unless you say it was bought separately with company funds that are your company, which doesn't sound like you've done any of this stuff. So basically, it's community property anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter who pays for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
But that's interesting that you guys are doing that. I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Right.
I'm just saying it's interesting you guys are doing it.
I don't even think it was never discussed or never even considered that we wouldn't handle it like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's interesting. So, which of you makes more money?
That's a good question.
Because she has her own OnlyFans, right?
She does.
That's hers.
She's definitely one of the biggest girls on there, yeah.
Okay, so she has a personal OnlyFans. Then there's a Plug Talk, which is both of you?
Plugtalk.com, yep.
That's both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that has an OnlyFans as well. Mm-hmm. So which OnlyFans makes more money?
That's a good question. But I shall not reveal the answer
You
to
shall
that
not
at this
reveal.
time.
You can tell me, but you have to kill me.
But what I will say, though, is that there's been times in which, like when we bought the house, she was making way more money than me. Fast forward to the pandemic, 2 years after we buy it, I'm making way more than her. Fast forward to now, it's probably closer to the same. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of ups and downs as time goes by because that I couldn't have seen coming. Like when we bought the house, I didn't even want to buy it. I said, we have this condo. Let's just stay in the condo. I don't want to get out of here. I feel great here. And she was more concerned with owning something. And as time goes by, Jumper was killing it for a while. Like to be real though, her OnlyFans has been unbelievably consistent over the years. She's just so smart with her money, and her overhead is very, very low compared to something like No Jumper with like 10 employees.
So when Ruby Rose says that she makes $400,000 on OnlyFans in a bad month,
Right.
real or clout chasing?
It strikes me as if it could possibly be inflated a little bit, but that being said, she's mega famous and beloved. So I'll give it to her that could be accurate.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know. It's also it's in the OnlyFans girl code to throw some sauce on those numbers.
You gotta do it.
I mean, it's just
Throw an extra zero.
They all know how valuable it is to be seen as somebody who has this incredibly valuable product on their OnlyFans. So it's like if I found out that Ruby Rose makes $200K a month and she's out here saying she makes $400K on a bad month, I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't hold it against her. It's all marketing.